Good evening. And that certainly woke me up. I'm sure nobody else needed to be awakened. Once again tonight, to remind you, I'm not Don Ryan. Just think of me as Don Ryan with paint on my face. Mr. Ryan was unavoidably detained, and I hope he will be able to join us, and when he does, I'll pass the gavel over to him. The Board of Trustees of Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District is now convened in a regular meeting on Monday, October 13th, 2014, in the boardroom of the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Instructional Support Center, 10,300 Jones Road, Houston, Texas, at 6 p.m. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our television viewers to this meeting of the Board of the Trustees. As the Cypress-Fairbanks Board of Trustees, we're here to set goals, listen to reports, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by Section 551.071 to 551.084, inclusive of the Texas Government Code. These proceedings are airing live on CFTV Channel 16 and CFTV Online on the district website. They will also be rebroadcast throughout the month on Channel 16 and available as video on demand on the website. For the tape to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking, and that cell phones are turned off or in silent mode. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District. There will be an invocation. Tonight's invocation will be presented by Teresa Hull, Associate Superintendent for Governmental Relations, Communications, and Chief of Staff. Please stand for the invocation, and if you would, remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Please bow your head. Dear God, we ask that you be present among us in this room tonight. As educators and board members, parents and community supporters, we give thanks for the opportunity to be doing what is the most important work in our nation, providing for the education of the young people in our community. As we come together, we thank you for our board members who generously donate their service. We ask that you grant them wisdom as they work together with the superintendent and staff to best meet the needs of the students in our district. Thank you for the democracy we live in, and bless our men and women who have fought and continue to fight for our freedom. In the next few weeks, we have the opportunity to celebrate our right to vote, and we ask that you provide each of us with the wisdom we need to select our leaders. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
I would request that my colleague, fellow board member Darcy Mangoya, to read the district's vision and mission statement for the benefit of the audience.
The vision statement: learn, empower, achieve, dream, lead. Our mission statement: the district shall maximize every student's potential through rigorous and relevant learning experiences, preparing students to be 21st century global leaders.
Thank you, Ms. Mangoya. The music that you were greeted with when you walked into the boardroom this evening was a recording by the Libi Symphonic Band, which I'm proud to say, since all three of my children attended Libi and two of them were in the band at Libi. The music was the Grand Galop by Johnny Vinson, Kindred Spirits by Brian Balmesh, Steel by Randall Standridge. And I would also point out that Lie-By is a much recognized middle school band, but so are our other middle school bands. This is probably one of the three preeminent districts in the state of Texas when it comes to the musical arts. Handling the television duties for us this evening, returning once again to camera audience left is Miss Katie Mann. We also have Catherine Fontenot. We have Alec Clusa, joined by Luis Veba. Our AVP advisor is Dusty Boucher. All of these students are from Cypress Ranch High School, and we certainly appreciate your being here with us this evening to record these proceedings. The board, and before we move further, we have been joined by a group of scouts, and as we always do, we ask that the cameras be turned to the scouts. Are you here for a merit badge this evening? And if so, please stand, state your name very quickly, and also what troop you are with. Scouts?
We're with Troop 1478 out of Cypress. Most of these boys go to Salyards, and we're here for citizenship and community merit.
Excellent. We welcome you. The board will now recess so that a public hearing may be held. Mrs. Ray has forms if any patron wishes to address the board regarding matters of interest on the 2012-2013 District School First Accountability Rating. In conjunction with the hearing, the administration will present an oral report. Anybody who wishes to sign up as a speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the board. Mrs. Christine Hartley, Secretary of the Board, will be the designated timekeeper. So first, do we have anybody who has signed up to speak relative to the school's first accountability rating? We have nobody who's indicated they wish to speak. That being the case, I will turn to Stuart Snow as we begin our public hearing on the 2012-2013 District Schools First Accountability Rating. Mr. Snow.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson, members of the board, Dr. Henry. If you recall, the Texas legislature in 2001 enacted provisions for the financial integrity rating system for school districts, which is called Schools First. Schools First is the financial accountability system that was put into statute, and as such we are required to publish and distribute a financial management report each year that explains our performance under the system, as well as you mentioned, hold a public hearing to discuss that report to our community. And at this time I would like to turn it over to Karen Smith, the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Financial Services, who will provide you with highlights of the report for the year ended June 30, 2003.
Thank you. Dr. Henry and the board, I'm proud to present our annual financial management report summary, which is for the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. This is on the 2012-2013 fiscal year. It kind of runs a year behind because they get all the information and collect it in order to do that report. As I mentioned, it first stands for the Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. And the purpose of this is to hold districts accountable for their financial management practices as well as their financial management decisions, but also to make sure that the maximum allocation is spent on direct instructional expenditures. The district has earned the highest rating since its inception, which is for a total of 12 years so far, of the Superior Achievement Rating. Listed below are the different ratings that a school district may receive, of course the highest being Superior Achievement, then Above Standard Achievement, Standard Achievement, and Substandard Achievement. The school's first objectives are to be simple and understandable, applicable to all districts, and based on hard data. And this hard data is the PEMS data that's submitted for the 2012-2013 fiscal year, as well as the budget information and the annual financial report that the district has to file with the Texas Education Agency. Also, it is to analyze the financial management efficiencies and to be an early warning sign. There is financial solvency information that is part of this report, as well as transparency. And there's disclosures in the appendix that is supposed to show the transparency of the district. The school's first rating is based on 20 indicators. The required disclosures that are in the appendix are listed below. It is the superintendent's contract, and it's always the contract for the current fiscal year, which would be the one that's currently in place. Reimbursements to the superintendent and the board, and I believe that's in Table A2, if you would like to look at that information. Outside compensation of the superintendent. Gifts of $250 or more for the executive officers of the board, which would be the superintendent is actually the executive officers, the board and the immediate families, but the superintendent is the one that's considered the executive officer. Also, business transactions between the district and board members. There was no outside compensation of the superintendent or any gifts of $250 or more, and there were no business transactions between the district and the board. Also, there is financial solvency data. These critical indicators that are listed here, either together or by themselves, can cause a district to fail their financial integrity rating. One of which is the total fund balance less restricted fund balance. It must be greater than 0 in the general fund. Also, total unrestricted net assets balance must be greater than 0 in governmental activities. There must be no disclosures concerning default on bonded debt, and the annual financial report must be filed by the deadline to the Texas Education Agency. The district must receive an unqualified opinion, and there must not be any material weaknesses disclosed of internal controls. You will see listed here the fund balance and how well the district has done over the past 5 years. We are showing you the unreserved, unassigned fund balance, and this is the fund balance that is not designated or restricted for any certain purpose, as well as the change in fund balance. And over the past 7 years, the district has added in excess of $177 million in the unreserved, unassigned fund balance. The district is projecting for the 2013-14 fiscal year to have an unreserved, unassigned fund balance of in excess of $275 million and add over $64 million to fund balance. The percent of total tax collections that is recommended by the Texas Education Agency is at least 98%. You will notice over the past 5 years that the district's collection rate has exceeded that. The reason that it's in excess of 100% is because of delinquent taxes collected. The administrative cost comparison is a way to show that administration is being cost effective and most of the funds are being spent on instruction. You will see that the threshold recommended for a district our size, which exceeds 10,000 students, is 11.05%. In 2012-2013, the district's administrative cost ratio was 3.57%. Now, if you look at administrative cost as a percent of total expenditures, it was much lower. It was actually lower than that. It was at 1.6%, and I believe the state average is around 3%. Listed here are the administrative cost comparisons of the districts within the area, and you will notice one of the higher ones, LaPorte, being 11.20%, and Sheldon is at 10.77, and I'm not going to read through all these, but you'll see how much higher they are than the district. And if you'll go to the next one, Joel, thank you. Close by, Tomball is at 6.6, and Spring at 6.25. If you'll go to the next one, Joel, thank you. And then Houston is at 4.8, and Klein at 4.67. The district's is the lowest in the area at 3.57%. So I am open for any questions that you might have on the annual financial management report. You should have a copy of that on, as well as a copy of this PowerPoint presentation.
Questions or comments from the board? Mr. Hoffman.
So Karen, you mentioned the collections, the percentage of total collections during the, was it past 5 years, past 5-6 years? It exceeds 100% because of delinquent taxes. Now,
That is
is that
correct.
from the previous year that have been collected?
From the previous years, that, because we have delinquent taxes that exceed the current year.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Mr. Covey?
Well, first of all, I just want to commend the administration for holding the costs down like you do. And it's amazing in serving on this TASB board for the state of Texas. And I think one of the examples we saw, or that I saw, was one of the school districts in San Antonio has 10,000 less students than we have, and I think 20-something plus more facilities than we do. So I commend the administration and past boards, and certainly that goes down to our teachers and our support staff and all that they do to help us keep these costs down. It's wonderful that we are able to keep those costs down and put more into the classroom. So thank you.
Dr. Ogletree?
I too want to say this is a great report. Great to see this. I was looking back in those lean years in 2009 when our fund balance was under 100 million, and to see where it is now, and knowing that we're going to also add 64 plus million to it is quite encouraging, along with us maintaining for a district our size this superior achievement rating. So just accolades. Great job, all of you.
Other comments, questions? I too would like to congratulate management on a job well done, as always. Years ago, I'm sure some will remember that when I was asked to evaluate our finance department, I gave them a B+. I think I can change that now and unequivocally say that you have well-deserved an A+. The more experienced board members we have on the board serving with us, you're welcome, also deserve credit for supporting management through those very difficult times, but also continuing that support as the fund balance has been increased to more appropriate levels. So thank you. My colleague, Ms. Mongolia, reminded me that I need to ask for public input after the presentation. You know, when you have a stand-in, it takes a village to get the fellow to conduct the meeting properly, and I appreciate the assistance. Do we have anybody who has decided to sign up for public comment as a result of the presentation itself? Very good. Thank you. Good report. We will now move on to the special recognitions portion of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. The CFISD Transportation Department earned awards for its efforts to mitigate air pollution at the Houston-Galveston Area Council 2014 Clean Air Action Best in Motion Leadership Awards Program. The CFISD honors are 2014 Clean Air Champion and the 2014 Air Quality Leadership Award, Public Sector. Cypress Lakes High School earned national certification for its Project Lead the Way engineering program. The recognition distinguishes schools who successfully demonstrate a commitment to the PLTW's national standards. The certification also provides students with opportunity to apply for college credit or receive college-level recognition at PLTW affiliate universities when they successfully complete select courses in high school. Cypress Creek also has a nationally certified Project Lead the Way program. 9 CFISD bands, choirs, orchestras, and percussion ensembles were selected by the Foundation for Music Education as Mark of Excellence winners. The following groups were selected among 224 ensembles from 35 states. National winners: Cook Advanced and Girls Choir, Lybi Tenor Bass Choir, Cypress Ranch Percussion Ensemble, Jersey Village Symphonic One Band. Commended winners: Cook Percussion Ensemble, Aragon Chamber Orchestra, Cypress Ranch Symphonic Band, Langham Creek Symphonic Band, Spillane Symphonic Band. The inaugural CFISD Health Expo benefiting the Health Organization of Physical Educators was held this past Saturday, October 11th. The event offered numerous health and wellness opportunities for parents, employees, and the community. The Cy-Fair Educational Foundation has been ranked 23rd overall in the nation's only study and ranking of K-12 educational foundations, stepping up the top K-12 educational foundations in the nation. Since its 1970 inception, the CFEF has awarded more than $5 million in student scholarships and more than $1.8 million in staff development grants. On September 22nd, 9 honorees of distinction were inducted into the 2014 Wall of Fame for their commitment and contributions to the educational experience of CFISD. The Friend of Education Award was given to District 126 State Representative Patricia Harless. Congratulations to all our talented students and staff. These achievements will be recorded in the official minutes of the meeting. Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Henry. At this time, we are open for board comments. Any board member may make a comment during this portion of the agenda without prior posting being required. Comment items may not pertain to the character of any student, staff, or board member and may not be discussed or deliberated upon at this time. Colleagues, comments? Ms. Hartley.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to say what a great time October is. All of our extracurricular activities and the teachers that work with those students, I just want to give you a round of applause. Just in the past 2 weeks, I've seen bands competing, football games, drill teams, FFA kids getting their animals, volleyball, theater groups are getting ready to open with, opening night, and the excitement at all the schools, you can just feel it. So I just want to say thank you to all those that work in those extra areas at our schools. Thanks.
Dr. Ogletree.
Well, I'd like to say we had I think one of the best times at the TASB conference in Dallas. Attended some outstanding workshops and some great presentations. And it's so interesting when you attend a workshop that is confirms or affirms what you're doing and what your district is doing and the direction that we're going in. And so it was a great time in Dallas. Also, I want to just commend the Stephanie Thomas and also Tanya Goree at the Horn Elementary School in Lee, doing an outstanding job. It was just great to see and walk through those schools and see the education that's going on, the engagement of the students and the passion of those teachers and administrators, and I just want to give them their props.
Thank you, Dr. Ogletree. Other comments? Very quickly, I have made my normal rounds. Very impressed with the schools that we have all been visiting. Our schools are clearly schools of distinction, earned by the staff as well as campus leadership. Very quickly, I'll make 2 comments. One, I will be voting for Prop 1. Please study it and come to your own decision. I will also be voting in favor of our partner, that being Lone Star College, their bond proposal. Please study it, come to your own decision. My tip of the hat for this evening goes to our volunteers, but particularly those from the CLC who have concluded a major portion of their work but are just now getting ready to start on the next phase. Patrons who have duly registered per policy BED local may address the board regarding matters of concern or interest to the district, other than the character of any student, staff, or board member. I would like to remind the audience and the viewers that the comments of the speakers reflect their own positions or opinions. The board may not discuss or act upon any matter that is not listed under the action item portion of the agenda. Therefore, board members may not discuss the comments of speakers. Please understand that a lack of a response from board members does not indicate agreement or approval of the comments. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the board. Ms. Hartley, Secretary of the Board, will be the designated timekeeper. Our first speaker for the evening is Bob Hooton. If you would, please use the microphone at audience left. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Thank you, Dr. Henry and Board, for allowing us to be here. You actually mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm sure you're very familiar with the district's FFA program. It's obviously a great way to teach kids responsibility, camaraderie, and brings in a lot of dollars also to the district. I think it was a record-breaking year this last year. This last May, our daughter selected a steer through the selection whose disposition was so dangerous and so crazy that we had to get rid of the animal, resulting in loss of participation in the program, loss of money, and also almost a loss of her health. We had to take her to the hospital the last go-around that it ran over. And while investigating what led to this, having this crazy of an animal in the pool, we discovered some very concerning irregularities regarding the procurement process that was utilized for these animals. The RFP that was issued in November 2013 didn't adhere to the state procurement laws or to the Education Code Chapter 44, didn't adhere to its own published specifications, and resulted in an award to the highest bidder providing the least value. If you look on the table at the top of what I handed out, you'll see the two low bids. Schrader and Mid-Continent both provided a variety of different value in their response. The Schrader has 36 Grand Champion steers that they had listed. Mid-Continent has 16 they had listed. Struby Livestock was the high bid at $2,200 per steer. Only 6 Grand Champions. That resulted in a cost to the district of $30,000 and a cost to the parents participating in an additional $30,000. When you look at the specifications themselves, the most important, I think, is what they call the broke to tie specification, which is the district's attempt to try to make sure that these animals are easily taken care of by the kids, that they're tied up and so forth. We found actually we had several experts look at the animal, and the responses range from the animal being psychotic to the one trainer saying he wouldn't allow his kids in the pen with that animal, much less to be at a show. And we found out that when Cypher actually reviewed these bid responses, they didn't ask to see the animals tied up. When they were delivered for selection in May, they were not tied up. And so being the most important specification to be met, it's just very strange that there wasn't any possibility to even tell if the animals were broke to tie, because nobody viewed them tied up. The education code that I mentioned, I think the key things you'll see in this are that by not being properly advertised, there are only 3 responses. By not having the responses coming in via fax and not sealed till opening, that leaves room for impropriety. And by not having published evaluation criteria, that leaves a lot of leeway for the award to be made without justification. So what we're asking is just that the district investigate this process, take care of it in the future, make sure it's done probably through the procurement department, and that we're also reimbursed the $2,200 that we spent on the animal. So you'll see all the attachments. I appreciate the opportunity to address the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Richard Martin. And if you would, please remember that we have 3 lights, a green, a yellow, and a red. The yellow will come on when you have 30 seconds, and that gives you a reminder that you should wrap up your comments, and obviously when the red light comes on, please summarize what you have to say. Mr. Martin.
Good evening, Vice President Jackson, Board of Trustees, Dr. Henry, and the viewing audience. My name is Richard Martin. I am a Vice President of Cy-Fair, Texas State Teachers Association, National Education Association. and a 26-year employee of Cyfair ISD in the maintenance department. I am speaking before you tonight to build upon the topic President Mary Stoner introduced during the last board meeting. In her speech, she developed the idea that employees of Cyfair ISD have the best and worst of situations. On one hand, we have health insurance. On the other hand, many of us cannot afford it. I'd like to share my personal experience with how the health care cost has personally impacted my family. I joined Cyfair ISD 26 years ago. One reason was it was a great place to work, and we had good health insurance. However, it seems that every time we got a raise, health insurance also went up. This year was no exception. I am presently paying $415 every month as our premium for employee and spouse. My wife dislocated her shoulder a few weeks ago, and I took her to a community hospital, where they tried twice to reset her arm with no success. They in turn transferred her to Tomball Regional Hospital by ambulance, where the emergency room doctor could not get her arm reset as well. They had to call in an orthopedic doctor to schedule an OR where he manipulated the shoulder back into place. The cost of this treatment billed to the insurance was over $30,000 for less than 24 hours. Out of our pocket expense will be $5,000 or more with our 20% that we owe. The community hospital wants $3,487. The ambulance billed us for $1,000 for a 7-mile trip. Physical therapy wants $185 per treatment. She has to have 5. Plus the doctor's visits of $139. Because of the high cost to us, we cannot afford to have her go to physical therapy as needed. Just going to the doctor's office for follow-up visits are a struggle financially. One employee I spoke with, a secretary, has to work her regular job plus 3 part-time jobs to pay for her family's health insurance and provide for her family. One employee at the maintenance department had to pay the $5,000 deductible up front before having knee replacement surgery. When employees must make decisions to obtain health or provide necessities for day-to-day living, it becomes a no-win situation for families. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Miss Debbie Softon.
I don't mind. Can I ask y'all to take one and pass it around? And I have to apologize to Cy Ranch right now. They're in blue. Every other high school is in red, but I just noticed it. I'm coming to you today, if you'll look at the map, I think you'll have the same opinion I do, and it is my opinion. We are building the high school, our next high school, number 11, in the wrong place. If you look at it, there's also a circle and a little star. A subdivision was placed on the map. It was not placed there by Key Map. It was placed by your employees here in the district. They said they got it from Harris County's plats, but if anybody would like to look, they can look online or they can look on the copy that I printed out. It was not placed on the plat. So, and I was told that this subdivision would hold up to 750 homes. Well, if you count 1 student per home, that's a lot of students in that area. So you may think, oh yeah, we need the high school there. No, the high school should be placed somewhere else. And I was told in 2017 another high school would be built. I'm curious to where that's going to be, because that's probably the one that should be built next. Where are you going to pull the students from for this new high school? If you'll look where Cy Springs is and you'll look where Cy Lakes is, are you going to pull down 529 and go all the way into Cy Falls territory? I think if you look, cooler heads will prevail and you'll stop the construction. And I know you're just doing dirt work right now. You've stopped it before when you changed the location of an elementary school. I think you need to re-look at this, because you're not going to pull kids up north, because the only road you have right now currently is 99, which is a paid road, and you're not going to make your parents pay for for a child to go to school every day. And you're not going to want to incur the cost of that 99 road. So take a look at it this week, because time is money. And I think you'll make the same opinion that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ms. Frances Smith.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Henry. Educators in Texas who pay attention to state politics are acutely aware that we can avoid a real disaster in November only if we vote for state officials who have been actively supporting public education. This is a serious test for those who value our children's futures and desire to support the system, but do not know if they can support so-called liberal politicians. It was about politics when money public education needed several years ago was withheld, and almost all the school systems were in a true state of emergency. It was suggested schools use the money wisely. Wisely meant losing many teachers' positions, forming classes that were too large to be optimum learning environments, losing needed programs for those with special needs, and cutting needed school bus routes so children could safely ride to school, to name a few. It was often difficult for those of us in the classroom with larger classes, which often generated more problems, to find the hours to grade the extra student work and to understand how politicians could so glibly excuse themselves as the culprits. With frozen salaries for extra work, many good teachers left our profession. They felt the politicians were asking too much and giving way too little. We voters are approaching November. No one who goes to the ballot box should forget the horror story about the education budget slashes public education has endured in the last few years. We who value public education should vote for those who oppose those disastrous decisions. It's time to take the state of Texas back from the politicians who do not value public education as a fundamental part of state infrastructure. If we do not educate our children, we are setting in motion an extremely large group of young people who will drop out of school and will not be able to get decent paying jobs. Note, someone earning minimum wage is only earning $15,000 a year. They will not be working to learn the system in a company or interested in climbing the company ladder. If folks think there is lawlessness and too many robberies now, it could become total chaos. Too many of our teachers and administrators vote against themselves and what is in our educators' best interest, sometimes just out of habit. For instance, school districts in Texas now need between $1,000 and $2,000 additional funds per student at the present. Several years ago, we were told one thing, and then the person who made the promises voted against our best interest. I do not need to elaborate on that item, I am sure. As taxpayers, we cannot keep saying we want lower taxes when the system is broken. The people who allow this inequity to exist still hold public office. If we want serious change, then we must vote for the politicians who have our children, public education, and taxpayers in their best interests, in that order. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Marcia Webster.
Hi, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here to talk to you about the new math curriculum that has been taking over Cyfair lately. I'm the mother of a third grade child at Robison. My son has gone from a straight A honor roll student last year to the first 6 weeks of this year has an F in math. Now that's not the grade that's actually reflected in his average. That's the grades that he's bringing home on his graded papers. What I'd like to talk to you about is the developmentally appropriate curriculum that should be in place for these children. I know that the curriculum is set by the state of Texas, but the district does have some leeway on how this curriculum is presented and taught to the students. Our children are taught to use a 4-step process, AKA window pane. As a parent with a bachelor's degree, I know how to do math, and I'm struggling nightly with my child to figure out how to do this homework. The teachers have been great at trying to help us, but the children are just being left behind. They're being taught too many concepts in one day, and the teachers have told us that they can't slow down, they have to keep going. They're teaching up to 2 concepts a day. There's no time to go back and reteach or to reinforce any of these skills that these students are learning. My concern is, moving forward, that these children that are doing this newest theory of a 4-step process, when the Cy-Fair finds out that this is not working and the students are failing, what's going to happen to those students that they're not going to be able to go back and really learn how to do math. Math is set up, it is a exact science. 2 + 2 = 4. No matter how you get to it, it always equals 4. Math is built on a foundation. These children are not getting the basic foundation that they need to be able to move up in their math education. They're going to have to go back and relearn how to do these things. So all I would like to do is to just stress to Cy-Fair to take a look at this 4-step process. And I know that the state is requiring this new curriculum to be handed down to the districts, but these kids need more time to learn it. They cannot learn 2 or 3 different concepts every day without being able to go back and reinforce what they've learned. Or these students that are being left behind, they don't have time to catch up. The parents that are here with me tonight, we're active in our child's education. We have the time and we put forth the effort to help our children in their education. Some parents, whether it's due to language barriers, work hours, all different kinds of family situations, may not have that opportunity to do like we do and spend the time with our kids to help them. All these kids are going to fall behind as well. If my child is falling behind 6 weeks into the school year, going from an A to an F, imagine what all these other children are doing that are even at a more disadvantage than my child. So I just want you to take a look at this curriculum, implement it more slowly to where these children have a chance to learn it, because it's going to be a disadvantage to them later on when we can't build upon that foundation that they desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker for the evening is Miss Amber Wade.
Hi, I'm also a parent of a Cy-Fair ISD child in 3rd grade who is struggling with the new math curriculum. I have a very intelligent child, as you all probably think your own children are, but he knows the answers to the math. But because of even knowing the answers, he's failing because he can't follow this standardized 4-step process. It's not that way, so it's wrong, which is incorrect, because everybody learns differently. And because of this, he's being held back. Other children are being held back because of this. My child cries at night because he doesn't understand what they want him to do on this paper. Just like Marcia said, our children are feeling like failures. Honor roll children. Teachers, their hands are tied. They have to keep pushing no matter what. And for these standardized STAR testing, that should be considered being put off a couple years till they can catch up with this new curriculum. I realize that it's state mandated, but somebody should do something, because what's going to happen are these children are going to fail, and then the school's going to lose funding. And that's not going to help the schools at all. So, thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker for the evening is Miss Julie Whitten.
Okay, I have 4 students in elementary school in Cy-Fair ISD, and I don't have a lot to add. My main concern here is with the 4-step process as well. I have seen my 2 oldest boys, who are in 5th and 3rd grade, both go from straight A's or AB to bringing home failing grades on papers, barely holding a C in math, because they're being told that they have to do it a certain way. There's no flexibility for the teachers in how to teach or present this to the students. Every conference that I've had with a teacher, the response is, my hands are tied, this is how the district is telling us to teach the math. We have to use the 4-step process. For them, not every kid can process that in the same way. If my child is able to do 36 minus 12, and they can get the answer and they can show it 36 minus 12 underneath it and come up with the correct answer, but they're still being told or counted and have that marked wrong because they didn't use the 4-step process, that's a problem. And so I just would like you all to be aware of it and to take a look at it, please, and just, assess whether or not this is truly the best way to teach our students, and certainly whether or not it should be required as the only way to teach math in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker for the evening is Miss Vicki Purvis.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm also a parent of a 3rd grade student at Robinson Elementary, and also a kindergarten student and a 6th grade student. Specifically here, I'm here to speak to you all about how we have fundamentally changed the way that we are teaching our children. We are teaching them how to master or how to pass one state-mandated test. We're not truly teaching our child that 3 times 4 is 12. My 6th grader, I question if I gave him a $10 bill and he went to purchase something for $8.25, if he would know whether or not he received the correct change. He would probably have to draw a window pane, a diagram, and figure out. I have noticed that in my third graders' math homework, the questions that are being asked are trick questions, and then the answers that they are given as choices to choose do not reflect the work that she has done. On a personal or emotional matter, my daughter also was is a very bright student, an honor roll student, enjoyed loving going to school. She truly wants to do well and has set an expectation for herself, and it is high. She now hates going to school and cries every day when we have to sit down and do math homework. These mothers' children, they feel the same way, and it's very hard as a parent. I feel that her spirit is broken, and when she does her homework, she asks, "Mom, why do they make it so hard? Why are they trying to trick us? We're only little children." She's 8 years old. So please, I don't have the answers, and I don't know what to tell you, but something has to change as far as what it is that we're giving our young children. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker for the evening is Miss Michelle Pfluger.
Thank you, Dr. Henry, and thank you, Board. I, too, am here because of the phrase, "Our hands are tied." It is coming from the district. I have a 6th grader, a 3rd grader, and a preschooler, so I'm here for a while and want to see if we can get something done about this. When I met with my child's teacher, because he brought home a 70, and I thought, well, we're not mastering something, and we had our parent-teacher conference. She said, "Oh, Mrs. Pfluger, that was actually one of the best grades. 1 point away from failing was one of the best grades," and he too was an A student and is now not an A student. But my concern also was when I said, well, I think he needs tutoring, and I think maybe he's obviously not getting something. My husband's an engineer. I am also bachelor's prepared, and we don't know this 4-square unit bar number line to show addition, subtraction, which is to us just ridiculous. And she said, "I don't have room. My tutoring is full of children who have 50s and below." So then I say, well, what's going on here? Are there resources? I'll work with my child. There's no resources given to us from the school. You have to go and Google what you're looking for, or go to Barnes & Noble, or go to the nearest teacher supply store and see if you can find something that is it's never apples to apples. What you get at the stores is never what the kids are learning in school. So I have a real problem with there not being room for the child who is struggling. Not only are you failing, obviously, the kids who aren't mastering the content because they have 50s and below, but you're failing the children who have the potential to be high achievers because there's no room for them and there's no resources for us as parents to help them at home. We want to help our kids. I see the teachers and they are so frustrated, and this is not just in math, it's in science. Anytime I've asked for any kind of resources, you have to find it on your own. And I just don't think that that's an acceptable thing. With the science, I know there was also a revamping and acceleration or a more rigorous curriculum coming out, and I get it. If the state's mandating it, we have to do something about it. But my child comes home and he's like, failed a quiz today. And I said, excuse me, come back here. And I looked at the quiz, which I would not have seen if he had not failed, because it's property of Cypher ISD. If I hadn't made an appointment, I wouldn't even have known. It was a pop quiz given to third graders because I guess if the teachers knew ahead of time, they might prepare the children. That's what we've been told by the teachers. Fair enough. We look at the quiz and I said, whoa, this is 6 essay questions. I thought, these are really hard, and I actually thought his answers were quite good. He got partial credit for most of them, but it added up to a 65. So I said, well, bud, you know what? I think you did quite well for this, considering that your weekly homework is 15 multiple choice questions weekly. Now, I would suggest that if any of you had your boss show up to you and say, hey, I'm going to appraise you today. Here is an essay question. I would like you to answer it in this amount of time, and I'm sorry I didn't make an appointment with you to let you know. It just seems unacceptable, and I think we should take into consideration what we're rolling out, and if we're not prepared for it, maybe we should slow it down. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker for the evening is Miss Candy Pickard or Picard. And when you come up, before your time starts, please tell me how to properly pronounce your last name.
It's Pinkard.
Thank you.
Thank you again for having us here tonight. I think we've successfully covered the four-step problem. I think we all know that we have a problem there. I spent 2 hours today on the phone with Mrs. Richter. I sent out an email last night to just some parents that I'm friends with, and it went so viral and all over the place. I even got a call from somebody in Austin today. And I was sent a superintendent letter from the Wiley ISD up near Dallas, if that tells you how people are feeling about the curriculum. So I know that you already know what's going on with the math curriculum. After I talked with Mrs. Richter today, she kind of let me in on the four-step and how the curriculum left gaps with the new one coming in that has been implemented in Texas. The problem I have is that in my class, my daughter is a GTA student and has always been. But after she has failed so many of her papers and stuff, I went and looked up her average, and thank goodness, but obviously the grades are being curbed to the lowest grades are being dropped off, and I am so thankful for that, and that is not what I'm complaining about by any means, but my problem is by the time that the grades come to you, you think that they're doing fine and we don't have a problem, and therefore you go to the state of Texas and Cypher doesn't look like it has a problem, and I don't think that this is a Cypher problem. But Cypher is one of the largest school districts in the state. I believe it's the third largest, and you do have the ear of the state of Texas, and if you need the parents' help, I'm sure that there would be a lot of parents willing out there to help you get attention to this problem. Math is a building block, and we don't have the basics, guys. We have a major problem, and when we go on to the next couple grades and they stop either curving, dropping, or whatever, we're going to have a major problem. And in your mission statement, it said preparing the students to be 21st century leaders. I'm not sure you're going to have any left in school. They are so frustrated. My third grader who loves school, loves to read, is crying every night and is in tears. And as I talk to people at soccer, at dance, at the grocery store, the conversation is exactly the same across the board. There's a major problem that needs to be looked into. The teachers are frustrated. The teachers are fantastic. This is not a complaint on the school or on the teachers. They are doing everything in their power to help. But I just want to let you know, one of the conversations that I had with a teacher, I mentioned this, and I said, I don't even know what to do. Do I move out of the district? And she said, we are. That's concerning, guys. We have a problem. Please look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our citizen participation, public comment portion of the evening. Before we move into the main portion of the agenda, I would say that we'll take a 5-minute break, recess, and then we'll come back. During the course of the committee of the whole meeting, it was the consensus of the board that the following action items be approved as submitted or amended. I will read all of these that are that have been moved to the consent agenda. Any of these may be removed to move to the non-consent agenda. And in addition, after we have entertained a motion and received a second, questions may be entered on any of the items that are on the consent agenda. Those items that are 5A, the board will consider awarding bids and contracts and/or authorizing purchase orders as recommended in the posted agenda item. 1, automotive lubricants. 2, coach bus service. 3, cosmetology equipment and supplies. 4, HVAC refrigerants. 5, performance management suite. 6, print cartridges OEM remanufactured or compatible. 7, tree trimming and removal. 8, Walker Elementary serving counter food service. 5B, the board will consider approving and submitting to the Commissioner of Education a request for maximum class size waiver. 5C, the board will consider approving on second reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies. C1, AE local educational philosophy revised. C2, DAC local employment objective criteria for personnel decisions, delete. D, the board will consider canceling the special called board meeting boundary workshop on October 27, 2014. E, the board will consider approving the tax refunds of $500 or greater for Cypress-Fairbanks ISD. F, the board will consider approving the minutes of the September 15, 2014 regular meeting. Also on Thursday, the following non-consensus items were placed on the consent agenda. If you have your agenda in front of you, that's going to be 6C. The board will consider approving on first reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies. 1 period CPC local office management records management revised. 2 period DIA local employee welfare freedom from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation revised. 3 period DNA local performance appraisal evaluation of teachers revised. 4 FD local admissions revised. D, the board will consider approving the CenterPoint Energy Houston Electric LLC blanket utility easement to provide electrical service for Woodard Elementary School, number 54. So first, does any board member wish to move any of these items to the non-consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve these items as presented. Mr. Hoffman.
All items as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Second, Ms. Hartley. Now, are there any questions or comments that any board member wishes to make? I do have a couple myself. On item 5C, number 1, I initially requested that perhaps we might move this to the non-consent agenda so that we'd have a full board to review this. This is second reading, so this is our second bite at the apple. A question that I have for council, there you are. Are we legally required to put goals into policy, into board policy? Is that a legal requirement or is that merely an opportunity to do so?
The Education Code, Chapter 11, requires that the board adopt goals, as you know, because you do that annually. Where you, I guess, or how you disseminate the adoption of those goals will be a local decision. You can put that in policy, you can do it through, public meeting and action. So there's different ways to do it, and as I understand, the board has elected to put those in local policy to make a more accessible policy is online, as opposed to a resolution or looking up an action item, for instance, in meeting minutes. And so that's my understanding of the of the board's decision to put that in local policy. But the simple answer to your question is no, it's not a legal requirement that it be located in board policy.
This certainly satisfies the requirement that goals be very transparent, and this is one way of addressing that. The comment I would make, by so doing, I think it becomes very incumbent upon the board to remind ourselves each year, even if the goals do not change, I would urge us to take an affirmative step to reaffirm these goals. Because once they're in policy, they are in fact in policy. But I do think they need to be re-examined each and every year. I would also have a question for Ms. Stewart as it relates to the class size waiver. You presented that we have a number of schools and a small number of classrooms where we are requesting a waiver, and the number was consistent with that of the prior year. Is this a reduction from a couple of years ago when it seemed as if financing was a little tighter?
Yes, sir, Mr. Jackson. It's a significant reduction. In 2011-12, we actually requested 71 waivers compared to today at 25 waivers.
So almost a two-thirds drop.
That's correct.
I would say that management is to be commended, even though this district is still the least funded of any of the 24 districts in the greater Harris County area. Clearly, y'all are doing something right by requesting so few waivers. So I thank you. Those are my comments, and does anybody else have any other comments? Otherwise, I will ask for a vote. The motion's been made, the motion's been seconded. All in favor?
I just wanted
Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah,
yes.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to recognize Tom and Chuck and all the work and hard work and due diligence that they did on providing our recommendations for this upcoming legislative session.
And Mr. Hoffman, if I may interrupt,
yes.
That is on the non-consent agenda still.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I'll wait until then. We can go ahead and vote.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. We will now move to the non-consent agenda. The first item, 6A, the board will consider approving the 84th legislative session priorities developed by the Community Leadership Committee. We have two individuals from that committee with, actually three with us this evening. We have the chair, Mr. Tom Pickford. We have Chuck Brandman, and we have Marie Leonard. Is there anybody else on the committee who I've not noted? On Thursday, we had a presentation delivered by Mr. Pickford. Ms. Hull or Mr. Pickford, do you all have other comments or further presentation to make this evening? That being the case, Mr. Hoffman, you have some comments to make, please.
I'm finished. No, no, I just wanted to reiterate our appreciation for their hard work. You know, this legislative session is coming up, and it's important that we do have priorities. It's also important that we understand that as the legislation session begins, that we keep our minds open and keep our eyes open as it relates to some of the bills that may be filed and some of the ongoings up there. So we're going to be keeping a close eye, but also staying on task as it relates to our priorities. And wanted to thank the Community Leadership Committee for all their hard work and due diligence. You guys, kind of like us, you work for free. And we just appreciate your help in making sure we're looking out for our community's best resources, our kids. Thank you.
Mr. Jackson, I'd just also like to reiterate that the legislature has told us time and again they love hearing from the parents and the constituents, and that's what's very important. So they probably lean more toward that than our administration that goes up and talks to them, or sometimes even the board. So when it comes from the parents, and that's been proven in the last legislature when they reduced the amount of end-of-course exams from the 15 to what we have now, we can pretty much thank the the Texans that got up there and talked to the legislatures and told them how they didn't appreciate it. So thank both of y'all, both of you, all of you, everybody. The whole world.
Group hug.
Everybody.
Are there other comments, questions? I would point out that on the 84th legislative session priorities as developed by the CLC, number 4, which is entitled Accountability and Assessment, I think it bears to repeat this for this evening. It says, restore a positive focus on student learning by mitigating over-reliance on state assessments and by promoting students' access to higher education. I think it's one that we all can embrace within this district, and I trust that the CLC will continue to be successful in talking to our elected officials. If there are no other comments or questions, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Jackson, I move that the board approve the 84th legislative session priorities developed by the Community Leadership Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Covey. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Mongolia. All in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Thank you. We will now move to the next item, which is on the non-consent agenda. The board will consider the 2014 tax rate resolution to support the 2014-15 maintenance and operations and debt service budgets by setting the 2014 M&O and interest and sinking tax rates. The presenter this evening will be our CFO, Mr. Stuart Snow.
Thank you. I would ask that you recall my budget presentation that I made to you back in May. I mentioned at that time that we would not be able to adopt the tax rate at that time because to support these budgets until after we received the certified values from the Harris County Appraisal District. And we did receive those values during the first week of September. Also, during my presentation, I mentioned that the operating budget would require a tax rate of $1.04, and that the debt service budget was expected to require an INS tax rate of 41 cents for a total tax rate of $1.45. For the tax year 2014, the M&O rate we're recommending that would remain unchanged from the prior year at $1.04. However, I am very pleased to recommend a 1 cent reduction in the INS tax rate from 41 cents to 40 cents. This decrease is with consideration of this tax rate is with consideration of all of the principal and interest requirements that we have on our outstanding bonds, as well as and including the $435,740,000 Series 2014 C bonds that we sold last Thursday, and which we will close on that transaction next month. So we are recommending adoption of a tax rate as described in the resolution that we have before you, $1.04 for M&O, 40 cents for INS, for a total of $1.44.
Thank you, Mr. Snow. Questions, comments from the board?
Great job.
Thank you.
For like non-CPA accountant people speak, that tax rate's going down.
Tax rate's going down.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. That's really great after a bond election, and our tax rates are going down. Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to Dr. Ogletree.
I'll make the motion. I move that the board adopt the 2014 tax rate resolution to support the 2014-2015 maintenance and operations and debt service budgets by setting the 2014 M&O and interest and sinking tax rates at $1.04 and 40 cents respectively.
Thank you, Dr. Ogletree. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
A second by Ms. Mongolia. All in favor, please raise your right hand. It passed unanimously. We will now proceed to the superintendent's briefing portion of the agenda. Dr. Henry will make comments and provide information on certain topics regarding district events and items of community interest. Dr. Henry.
Thank you very much, Tom. I appreciate it. One of the great events of the school district happens this Thursday. It's our Salute to the Stars Gala on Thursday, October 16th at the Berry Center. The gala is sponsored by the Cyfair Educational Foundation, and it's always a great time to honor the outstanding teachers that we have in this district while raising money to support the Cyfair Educational Foundation. Also, another great event is the University Interscholastic League Region 27 Marching Contest this Saturday, October 18th at the Berry Center. 21 schools will compete in the contest. It'll be hosted by Jersey Village High School. All 10 of our comprehensive high schools will have a band there, and we always fare very well, so it's a full day of great entertainment out there. Red Ribbon Week, CFISD will celebrate Red Ribbon Week October 23rd through 31st. This national campaign is designed to encourage healthy, drug-free, and violence-free lifestyles among youth. Very important that our employees and community members remember to exercise their right to vote on November 4th, and the early voting dates are from October 20th through the 31st. It's hard to believe that's next Monday. And as Mr. Jackson touched on earlier, there's a lot of state and national elections, but also some that are very important to the local communities, such as the Lone Star College bond election. So hopefully everyone will exercise their right and get out and vote. The Northwest Harris County Heart Walk will be Saturday, November 8th. Last year, CFISD had over 600 participants and raised over $15,000. The 3-mile walk will start at Lone Star College Cyfair and raises funds for the American Heart Association. The district's new mass notification system, School Messenger, is now available to keep CFISD families informed of district and campus activities, attendance, transportation, food service, and most importantly, accurate real-time information during an emergency situation. Please visit the district website for more information, but that's going to be a great addition for communication with our community. Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Henry. I would also express my appreciation to my colleagues, but also to the audience for your forbearance in putting up with a rookie handling the microphone for this evening. Board President Don Ryan will return next month, and we will have a very efficient and effective meeting. We have covered all the topics.
You promised that he was going to be here tonight.
Well, I did not want to discourage or disappoint anybody, Dr. Ogletree.
Did you say that?
There is no other business to come before the board. We are adjourned.